I think we're at a very interesting time. I think in the post-war period, which is the entire period in the UK, we've had a planning system. So for 1.5 to 2,000 years we had no planning system, and then suddenly for 50 years we've had a planning system. But actually, curiously, particularly in a London context, which is a city that is facing such pressure for growth at the moment, we're now struggling to deal with how do we deal with population growth, how do we deal with economic growth at the same time. And we've developed a planning system that really deals with control, it deals with the maintenance of the status quo. It doesn't deal terribly well with fast growth.
What's interesting though are more recent examples of where cities have incorporated a rail system or transport system like MTR in Hong Kong, which are then based on commercial property developments as well to generate the income, or in fact cross-subsidise, so that these are in fact, in terms of transportation, they may not necessarily be profitable, but overall they are, because you're building above them.
I think we all know the place we've been to where we feel, God, this is really a bit dire, a bit soulless. And it's not engaging, it's not really connecting to the city, there are isolated spaces. And I suspect all these questions, all these things I mentioned before probably haven't been asked, and the involvement of local residents of the context maybe wasn't as successful. I think it's very, it's very difficult to start again from a very short period from scratch. This project tends to be to take quite a long time, and that's probably quite a good thing, because you do need that dialogue, that engagement, and people buying into it.
These developments are usually driven by a need to make sure that the numbers stack up. There is inevitably always a commercial component to big transport infrastructure. That doesn't necessarily have to mean traditional retail, it doesn't have to mean commercial offices. And more I think we start to see cultural and more social programs coming up that serve the broader community, and I think that needs to be encouraged.
Transport is the maker and breaker of cities, and transport really forms the spine around it. Without transport, modern cities can't function, particularly the kind of mega cities which are prevalent at the moment. So transport is the backbone of the city. It's like the spine and it's quite reasonable, and it's entirely sensible for development to focus on that backbone and on the kind of backbones connected to the hip bone and so on and so on the nodes within that spine. It's quite natural.
I think transport can play a really important role in terms of urban regeneration, and it's a bit of a shift in seeing transport as being something that's just there to serve society, as to something that can actually shape it. So I think for me a classic example is Stratford in East London, where the train line and the station was put in first, which gave huge confidence to the area, that then resulted in the urban generation that came about from that.